Hey, yo.
What's going down?
What was the last part again? You on the recovery pod. Hey. So appreciate you guys. So yeah, I was like, me and Erik been talking about this for a minute. I was thinking about it the other day. Like just in general. So I watched this one YouTube video, which I like and I don't like, right? Because it'll be like these charisma on demand, stuff like that. Nothing against but they always talk about these like generalized things where it's like, well, a woman sees a guy like this, right? And is looking for this type of guy. And if the guys act like this and girls act like that, basically. Mm-hmm. And it was talking about nice guys. And it just kind of got me thinking, it was saying like someone's always on the chase. There's always a chaser and there's always a runner. And I don't like thinking like that, but it got me thinking, especially back when I was like on one extreme or another of asshole or nice guy. And I mean, it wasn't wrong. I was kind of wondering if you guys experienced anything like that, like any experiences being the nice guy and experience being like the toxic asshole.
Absolutely. I can relate to that. That's for sure. How about you, Erik?
Yeah, both parts of that. Nice guy and toxic asshole.
Yeah, the disease definitely tends to bring out the old toxic asshole a little bit more than a nice guy. That's for sure. It has historically. Toxic asshole to me is rooted in dishonesty, right? And also in that chase you're talking about, man. It's very similar to to the dope world, in that there's always some kind of pursuit that the disease pushes my head forward on, right? It's not ever that I can obtain what I'm trying to get. It's just a continuous chase. So, I can definitely feel that. And it definitely, it's difficult to be a nice guy in that scenario because we're pushing our own envelope, right? We're looking to get what we want and get it now. And the beauty of recovery is that my morals are in play. My morals more than the chase itself, more than my defects, my character defects. And that creates a whole lot more peace and the ability to not necessarily be in a constant hurricane of a chase, specifically right. with the girls, specifically with women. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, I know. I was like, I don't know. I just had phases where I was like nice guy, like afraid to rock the boat type nice guy, internalizing everything, bottling it up, but then get on certain substances and it all came out,
Release the Kraken.
Yeah. And I remember just like with the mother of my oldest kids, I was a dick. I mean, like pre any type of awareness. I mean, I had a thought, I had a point of view. It was like dead ass true to me and it came out. You said something that hurt my feelings this much, I'm fucking getting even. I'm not gonna say, babe, I'm hurt, or whatever. It's just like, oh hell no, like, the soft little guy in there had to get even, and I knew how to hurt with my words. Mm-hmm. But I feel like when I was like really toxic though, she liked me a lot. So I don't know, like if it's with her specifically, if it was like, oh, he's a project I'm gonna fix, because I was a fucking mess when we met. Like, I mean, hot mess. Mm-hmm. Probably at one of my worst, not really my worst, but one of my worst times. Didn't really have a lot going for myself, and it was just like she clung to me. And I don't know, once I got decent later, she wasn't feeling it. But at the same time, there was a lot of history that led there. But anyway, yeah, and then I was just thinking of like experiences where I was kind of the nice guy. And you know, we see it out in the world that that's not what gets attracted to. I just kind of had me mind fucked for a second. You know?
You just reminded me when you were talking about how you said your ex kind of, it was almost like she was attracted to the toxic version of you. It reminds me of this girl. I started dating this girl, had to have been 10 years ago. But when I met her, I was like, I think like 20 days sober, trying to do the AA thing. And I was like feeling pretty good and like really trying to work on myself. And I think I made it to 28 days after I started dating her. And I remember hanging out with her one day and she was like, can't you just be a little bit of an asshole, like show some aggression? And I was like, oh, you want the asshole version of me? So like my instinct was I got to start using again and just show her what an asshole really is. Mm-hmm. And I think within like a month, she was like, you got to get the fuck out of here. I gave her a little too much asshole and like blew that. But yeah, that's what always happens with me is I notice whenever I try to get sober or like right now, that part of me that would be considered a toxic asshole is still, I feel like it's still in there somewhere, but
no doubt.
It's like what Wes was saying, my morals come back and like I really kind of, the things I do and think are there's more conscious involved and like just right or wrong comes into play, where when I was using or even when I'm not using and when I'm not paying attention to just myself, that's when the asshole comes out.
Isn't it interesting how in a disease state we're like so attracted to conflict in many ways, I almost use it for my own entertainment at times in the past. And what Eric's talking about popped a thought into my head about a relationship that I was in, and literally, you know, we were both in a place where we had a whole lot of outside nastiness going on, and in many ways we came together to escape that nastiness, you know, and kind of create a facade of a world. And it was so strange because it was like fight like hell, kiss and make up. Get bored, fight like hell even more, kiss and make up, get even more fucking bored, and just keep going, you know. And I still to this day don't really understand what exactly happened with that relationship. Oh, by the way, I was using all the time and not telling her, right? So it was all based in dishonesty. And but you know, a lot of the times back in the day when I was Mr. Nice Guy, I was just covering lies, man. I was just trying to keep the mask up so that what was really going down wasn't revealed. You know, it's been a gradual learning process for me as to how the disease has played into my closest relationships. And one thing that I'm sure of at this point is, you know, for a long time, I was more willing to lie through my teeth in order to protect my relationship with you, no matter who it was. You know, I was so afraid of losing somebody based on my actions or based on something that I didn't want to reveal. I would much rather just tell you a bunch of bullshit and keep it moving, you know, for the sake of the AKA relationship, which it really only it only pushed the inevitable further down, but also made it that much worse when the bomb dropped, you know?
Right.
Lies stacked upon lies. Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Dishonest Nice Guy would be the best way to put it for me.
Yeah, I always thought I was a pretty honest guy because I was more the type like, this is what I'm doing. If you don't like it, like, there's the door. But I definitely lied a lot as far as not saying, like not rocking the boat. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be honest about what I did, and I'd kind of let them choose to go. I think part of that's abandonment too, like pre-abandonment issues, where I'm like, I know you're gonna leave anyway. So in my heart, I'm already prepared for it. Like, let's just get it over with type shit. But definitely would kind of hold back if there was a problem. You know, if it was a little problem, I'd probably let it out. But anything big, I was like, this is gonna be too much, you know, and I'd kind of avoid it. Or even in my last relationship, I'd straight up lie about wanting to be with her because we had a kid. You know what I mean? And she'd just like have these moments where she's like, dude, like, do you even fucking love me? Like, I feel like you don't even love me. And I'm like, well, of course I do. And it's not like I hated her, but I don't think I was ever in love with her. But, you know, I could tolerate her to be with my kid, you know, which is kind of fucked up. And that's in recovery. But just to avoid that loss. So I don't know, like when I was in rehab, I was like, I'm not a liar. You know what I mean? I'll tell you straight up because I didn't lie about using. But then when I really started to dissect it, I was like, I did lie about a lot. You know, just because I wasn't making up stories or lying about my drug use doesn't mean I wasn't lying. But yeah, I get like the bottle up, like, let me not rock the boat, nice guy. I get the toxic drug fueled asshole. You know what I mean? I used to be attracted to what one would call a bitchy woman. You know what I mean? Just the attitude. But like, I'm talking about kind of like too being just decent, genuine, sweet, like honest, kind. Sometimes I feel like that kind of gets hated on too. And it doesn't even have to apply to just guys. Nice girls who aren't really risky or troublesome or spark that fire in you that's got that push, pull, run, chase. I gotta hunt you down. I gotta hold you tight. You know, like I feel like we kind of experienced some of that too. I was like, why? You know what I mean? Like, we just get bored or need. So, fuck, I feel like I'm all over the place. I kind of broke it down to myself where it was like, okay, when I'm in a toxic relationship, there's a lot of feeling. There's a lot of ups, downs. I hate you. I miss you. I love you. I got your back. It's great. Blah, blah, blah. Re-honeymoon phase. And when I'm in a good relationship, it's not boring. It's just not overwhelming feelings. And I think people can confuse that if they're not really analyzing it and kind of putting it in perspective. So maybe people are fueled off the feeling, the physical feeling of the strong honeymoon, the breakup, the missing, the fighting, because it feels good to fight too. You know what I mean? It feels good to release your anger. Yeah, you don't like being mad and separated, but it feels good to give in to the anger. You know?
Interesting. I feel that for sure. What do you think, Erik?
I agree with that. Most relationships I've been in have been like that, and the most recent one that I got out of, when it got like that, I didn't even realize it till after. Like it was like we got into the relationship, it was great, then it was horrible, then it was great, then it was horrible, and it went on like that for years. And then when I got out of it, like I was able to just look back and analyze kind of how we met and how it was. And the toxicity was there from day one. And it's crazy. It's like what Steven was saying. You can't really, like, when you're in that, it's hard to identify like kind of the toxic emotion versus like healthy emotion, because healthy emotion doesn't feel as extreme. Like I totally agree with that. It's like a healthy good isn't as good as like if it's like this crazy unhealthy good. It's literally like almost a high is how I would describe it. Like like it's literally like your body produces like the happy chemical when you're going through those ups and downs.
I'll tell you something else that just popped into my head listening to Erik talk is the fact that like when I'm out there when I'm out there doing disease shit, I can't really differentiate between any of my emotions in the first place, honestly. Like everything is either intense or dull, right? I can't tell you if it's intense anger, intense sadness, intense happiness, and I really can't differentiate between the different emotions when I'm all fucked up. And also, I also like to put myself in situations where, kind of like what Erik was talking about, where those intense emotions, whatever they may be, are blasted off, right? Because for some reason, that creates excitement. And that's clearly related back to the disease and some of my character defects. That's definitely something that I still have to explore deeper in my recovery to fully understand how that disease affects my emotion and what my triggers are on that front. But I can feel that, man, and it's just the life of chaos, right? I mean, we create our own lives of chaos when we're out there using and whatnot, and it's all I really knew for 10 years, man. It's just, chaos stacked upon more chaos, stacked upon more chaos. I just got so used to it, it didn't seem like chaos anymore. I mean, that's how wild my 10 years of heavy use went. I mean, towards the end, it was, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I had no idea what my emotions were or why they were occurring, So, I mean, it's, I'm grateful to be on the other side of that. I'm grateful to be able to kind of feel things and identify what I'm feeling and understand why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, and take a step back and kind of, have perspective on what's really going down in my head, and being able to play the tape all the way through for the first time ever. This is kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Stephen, when you said that, there was impulse and then there was action and there was absolutely nothing in between. Like I immediately thought I was in the recovery fellowship for damn near 3 years, hearing people say thoughts are not actions, right? And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck, man? Every thought that I have is an action. Bam. And I don't understand how anybody can actually keep that from occurring. Like, I had no concept. I understand. I heard it talked, but I had no real understanding of exactly how that was even possible. Because that's just was natural to me for a very long time. It's great.
Yeah, and I like how you pointed that out, because like when I'm using, man, I not only do I not have that filter there to catch in between, but I'm not analyzing my behavior. I'm not stopping to think, is this a good thing to say? Or, well, let me look at your perspective real quick. I'm like, my patience is this, you know what I mean? I am in my point of view. I'm fueled by it. My anger threshold is, there's not a lot in between feeling and snapping. You know what I mean? So yeah, like totally, like I'm not even aware of what's going on. I'm just kind of going with the flow. And then, we're around the same types of people who have the same types of coping skills and short fuses, and you know what I mean? We attract that shit. So yeah, I feel that 100%, man. And there's not like much room for mindfulness in the addiction world. And I mean, regardless of addiction though, before I got the concept of any type of awareness, that's how I was anyway. You know, I highly identified with my thoughts and point of view, to where if I think of a shitty thought, that's how I feel. So when I used to wake up in shitty moods, you know, because I wasn't just a monster in my whole addiction. I had some pretty chilled days. I had some cool vibes. But like, if my mood was off one day and my thoughts were darker, some shit went down that had me thinking nasty, that was the new norm. Like, this is me now. This is how I feel. And I need to say how I feel. Nowadays, I can still wake up in those same fucking moods. When people want to argue with me, I have the same shitty thoughts pop in my head. When my baby mom wants to talk shit, I can think of the same words to break her. I can see that. And I understand that that's a choice. But to speak more on the mood part, I can realize too, when I wake up in a shitty mood, that that's not truth. That's not how I feel. That's just the thought I had today and the mood I'm in. You know what I mean? And yeah, like I gotta credit so much of it, one, to getting sober first, because without that, I don't have the time or patience to grasp anything else. But like for me, learning these things, like these ways, have just been like the best gifts in the world to me, because it's like, okay, yes, get clean, and then some, you know what I mean?
More to be. No doubt. Yeah, it's crazy how that, just going back to nice guy versus dickhead, like it's just bringing back some memories where, you know, to your point, action, thought, action, no stopping in between that, right? Like, nice guy was always just manipulation, right? I mean, nice guy West was just here to get what I need, and then I'm out the door. You know, I'm going to be nice to you as long as you could serve a purpose for me. And
yeah, I mean, even regular nice guys are manipulation. Like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to control the outcome of the other person. You know what I mean? You're even a people pleaser is a fucking manipulator. You know.
No doubt.
Do you have something, Erik?
So my question, yeah, I was gonna say something, but on this topic, my question is, what is the balance between being a nice guy where it's not a manipulator and being a dickhead? Because I feel like I'm a nice guy at heart, but then at the same time, I don't know, I feel like it's something that people kind of use to walk over me or to take advantage of. And it's also, I feel like it's also just seen as weakness, like in general. And I don't know, it's like I could try to force myself to be kind of more of a dickhead, but at the same time, it's not who I am. And so, like, where's the balance with that? You know what I mean?
The almighty balance. Yep.
Yeah.
Called assertiveness. You know, not feeling like you got to be the pushover, like, hey man, it's all good, whatever you say, I don't want to rock the boat. But also not being the guy who's got to voice every opinion and pick every battle and fight every fight. You know, just being assertive. Like, I'm kind and respectful because that's who I am. Oh, you want, you know, I can be aware of you trying to manipulate me and come towards me and make me do something I'm not comfortable with. No. You know what I mean? And then if you have to get aggressiver, you know what I mean? Like, I don't ever like to feel like I have to sacrifice integrity or being my kind self to get people off me like that. You know what I mean? But I do understand that I live in a world that doesn't speak that language most of the time. You know what I mean? So
That's a fact.
it's hard as fuck to be assertive all the time. Like, it's like trying to keep something in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, you have to use focus on keeping it balanced in the middle. And then, you know, anger is easy to run with. I get pissed, you make me mad, I have anger behind it. I can zone into my point of view, tell you you're wrong, feel right about it, and just have a pissing match with you. You know what I mean? I can shut down and internalize my point of view and let you win. Both of those are easier than having a debate where you also control yourself, like push yourself to the line without going past it. You know what I mean?
Awareness.
Way easier said than done. You know, and I know we've been kind of talking about it when it comes to like relationships, but I've experienced that at work. You know, I was a manager, and I had a few people under me. I fucking hated it. Like, I didn't like it at all because I was pretty cool. Like, I was like not a pushover, not just letting them do whatever they want, but I'm not, you know, following them around and nagging them. But man, like, they don't respect it. You know, I'm like, bro, you could be on your phone. I don't care. You know, you gotta send a message, or you just need a moment to like kind of just step away, do your thing.
Mhm.
But these are the things I need from you, because these things cost money when you mess them up. So help me out here and just come on. Wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? And it's making me the bad guy who's got to like put my foot down, but I don't want to be like that. And I was a little earlier in recovery. So I was really worried about developing a manager ego because I just didn't want to fall into that for my own sake. But it was, and some days I'd be assertive and it would be okay. And then some days, man, it was really hard. I did not enjoy it.
Feel that, man. I mean, a big part of where I am at this point in my recovery is completely related to dealing with my emotions and understanding, or trying to get a better idea of how to feel these things, you know, living life on life's terms, and understand that it's not always the best idea to just immediately fire off, you know, no matter if that's in a state of anger or a state of, you know, jubilation, right? I mean, it's the beautiful thing about what's going on in my head these days is that I'm able to play the tape through on these things that I've never had a second thought about, and specifically in the emotional world. Like, at this point, I'm looking at, okay, how's this emotional reaction for me going to impact the other person? Like, all of a sudden, I now have this care that, you know, my actions actually do have an impact on other people, and that's fucking new. That's real new. Like, and I think in order to have that, right, in order to have that kind of awareness about myself, it goes back into the steps. I'm sitting here thinking that the steps are in my head right now, but like, it's pretty remarkable what recovery can do for somebody like me, you know, and somebody like you guys. I mean, nobody's special. We all suffer from the same disease, you know, and it's a pretty awesome thing when we reach a level of awareness in our recovery where, you know, those emotions are at the forefront, and our actual impact on other people, specifically the people we give a shit about, is more important to us than that immediate instant gratification of, you know, doing something out of impulse, you know?
Hell yeah. No, like, even these days, man, like, I'll be thinking of things like, you know, it's okay to say this, but I stop and I'm like, how will this person react if I say this? Not even in a bad way, not even like oh, this is a really bad thing to say, just like this is an unnecessary thing to say, you know, or this is maybe this isn't even that unnecessary of a thing to say or that bad of a thing, but this person may take it bad, you know, if it's someone I care about. So I try to be very tactful.
Do you guys ever, how often do you guys put texts into your phone and then look at it and go, what the fuck, and erase it? Does that happen a lot for you guys as well? Because it's happening to me quite a bit as of late. Like my immediate impulsive response to something 9 times out of 10 is disease driven, right? My brain works that direction, you know, and recovery is about flipping the script for me. Recovery is about, you know, acknowledging the fact that, you know, probably at least 75% of my thoughts in my head are probably a bad idea. You know, I mean, legit. Like that's
Yeah.
it manifests.
Yeah, in my first year, I sent a couple long texts. I probably should have. You know what I mean? Not so much these days.
Good.
I've been catching myself on Facebook. Luckily, I haven't really sent any, like posted anything crazy, but I'll read something that a friend posts on the news feed or whatever, and it'll be something like negative or just kind of really highly opinionated, and like, I don't know, it'll rub me the wrong way. And the first thought I have is like, oh, I got to shut this dude down.
Right.
Like, but I've caught myself every time. Like it just, I don't know. I know I'll regret posting something just to argue with someone on Facebook.
Shut them down.
Don't feed the trolls, man. I almost did the same thing the other day. Somebody, you know, I'm on a couple of those recovery websites, and man, sometimes there's some toxic people on there. But I started to say something and write out this whole thing, and I'm like, hold up. What is your purpose here? You know, you're not going to change this dude's mind, and all you're going to do is get 50 responses instigating you and just charging you. So that's a good move, man. Like Facebook drama, no, I don't have time for it. I'll say something inspiring if someone's got like their whole shit twisted, or, you know, if I could say it in a way that's not going to provoke like opposing their point of view, and it'll be helpful. I mean, I'll do it. And if they want to come back with their other stuff, I just stop there.
So,
But yeah.
Hello, toxicity. God.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that one thing that's pops into my head is the fact that at this point, like anything like social media, hell, even watching a movie of you know sorts, certain movies and things like that, anything that I've gotten real protective at this point of a serene state of mind because I know that it's developing for me. I know that it'll continue to get better, but I'll be damned if I'm not, 100% doing everything I can to avoid situations where I feel like my brains are rattled a little bit, and that's definitely, God, social media is the number one place where that goes down. I mean, how easy is it for us to get stuck into an obsessive thought on social media? And I'm talking philosophy. Everybody's the best philosopher on the planet on Facebook, right? Everybody's the sexiest model on the planet on Facebook. Everybody's the next president of the United States on Facebook. I mean, dude, that shit is toxic for me. And I, as I'm making changes in my life to, in a serene direction, I don't even want to go on there anymore. Like, it's crazy because I used to obsess over it, what's this person doing? Or, where's my ex-girlfriend? What's she doing? Or, oh, look at this dude that I should be on his level or some shit like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Shit.
I unfollowed a lot of people early in recovery, and then during the first election in 2016, I unfollowed so many people just because it was nothing but arguing and shit talk. and, you know, not a lot of conversations to be had that were, you know, healthy to see. And then I also slowly learned over time that, like, man, Facebook is a facade. You know what I mean? It is just a highlight reel of, you know, I like to see what people are doing in their life. Oh, I got this new job, or here's my kids, or whatever. Like, that's cool. But like, when you're scrolling through social media and you're just comparing your life to others,
Yep.
and you're looking at other people's moments and highlights and filtered pictures, and you're comparing it to your like real life, you know, it's one of them things that if you're not mindful of it and you're not understanding that there's a certain amount of illusion there, you can really get lost in that shit. Or just the politics and the fight, you know, everybody's a keyboard warrior and they got the biggest voice in the world when they're on Facebook and nothing but time to fight with you. And I don't know, man. And then the unfollowing is one. And then I've seen articles about this, but I also kind of seen it proven. What you engage in, you see more of. You know what I mean? So when I'm posting on positive shit, when I'm just not sitting there arguing with those type of people, I'm not seeing posts that provoke me to get on there and argue. You know, it'll be more like inspirational quotes or, you know, things like that, or people I kind of interact with more. But yeah, there's just levels to it so much. And, you know, you're at least at the phase where you're aware of that shit, you know. Like, I never wanted to delete social media or stop getting on it. I just wanted to learn how to use it correctly, you know. And I don't get on a lot or post a lot or scroll a lot, really. But I like to know that I can get on there and not get caught up in the hype, you know.
That's what's up. Definitely.
So have you guys ever experienced toxic masculinity?
Do tell us what that's all about.
Being like being the guy, being the way the world tells you a guy's supposed to be. But I'll tell you right now, I haven't. Like, I was raised by women. I had a very, very polite, chill, loving household. I did grow up in like a little bit of a hood, but I was in the house enough to develop that like sweetness. And then when I went outside, I was like, what the fuck? But not having guys around in the house, like my grandpa was there, but he was pretty chill. Just not having like the guy, you know, being like, oh, this is how you're supposed to be, and we're, you know, tough and we don't cry.
You know.
Yeah. So I don't know, like for me, being around some of those guy types, it was hard for me to relate, you know, and I just was curious if you guys were ever like either the guy type or
Interesting.
not the guy type, and how that affected.
I think that I was involved in sports growing up quite a bit, right? And,
Oh, so you're the guy. You're the
yeah,
guy.
so legit, like I had a hard time figuring out how to use my tear ducts for a long time. That's for sure. Like
Right.
I was raised in that fashion, man. Like, be tough, get your ass up, dust yourself off, you know, shake it off. I mean, I can even remember, like, as a real young kid, even my mom saying, "Oh, get up, Wes, shake it off. You know, you're tough,
Right.
tough." That kind of shit, even from my mom. You know, not necessarily from the male people in my fam. And my family was, you know, I was raised in an awesome house. I had, you know, a very good moral foundation growing up, which I'm grateful for, right? But there's no question that there's no crying. There's no crying in this particular sport. That's for sure for me. The game of life, at least early on.
Right.
So yeah, I can relate to that. You know, at first I had no idea what the hell you were talking about. Now that you just
Most people don't, man. Most people don't. Like,
toxic masculinity.
I mean, it's like just that whole, you have to be the male, like you're not allowed to have emotions, you're not allowed to cry, you know, and it's like, it's kind of normal to a lot of people because that's the way everybody's conditioned and raised.
Yep.
But really, you're a human being who has emotions like sadness and fear. And, you know, when someone is like too much of pushed into a conditioned gender norm, right?
Yep.
You're suppressing your humanity in a way. You know what I mean? Like for me, I never was raised that way, right? But when I got into the world and I saw a lot of other guys were like that, you know, not that I was like this big crier or anything, but I wasn't this guy. And I was like, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean? I need to learn how to be more aggressive, more tough, more hard, more cold, you know, to the point where I'm like, I'm trying to suppress how I care about people.
Shit.
You know what I mean? Like, fuck, man, don't be cool. Don't be, not even like pushover cool, but like cool. Like, learn how to just be a dick. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I had my fair share of doing that easy enough on my own.
Yeah.
But those thoughts were there where I'm like, all right. But when I got, so it always kind of felt weird to me. And when I got clean this time and went on my little awakening journey, all the ways that I always felt like I felt naturally, you know, felt wrong for feeling wrong about, if that makes sense, I embrace. And I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm a human. I should experience whatever human emotion I got. You know, so what that I'm the caregiver of my children rather than the, hey, come here, boy, like, you know, enforcer. I like that I love my children and they're not like in fear of me. You know what I mean? So yeah. Eric, do you cry, man? Were you, come on, man, help me out. Which side do you want?
Do I cry? I cry when.
Have you ever in your life?
Yeah.
Ever?
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of like I can relate to both of you. I was raised by my mom mostly. My dad left at an early age, and the only father figure I had was my grandpa. But he was in the internment camps during like the war stuff with Japan, and he was in the internment camps in Wyoming, I believe. So anything I remember about my grandpa was he suppressed his emotion. He wasn't a man like the masculine man type. He was more just kind of mellowed out. Any emotion, like negative emotion he had, he wouldn't really share it from what I remember. And then my mom was kind of the same. So yeah, I never experienced the toxic masculinity. It was more, the way my family raised me was more like if something's bothering you, you just deal with it and push through it. And yeah, even I remember writing a report about my grandpa in elementary school, and I got to this question where I had asked him about his experience with kind of all that stuff that he went through, and that was the first time I think I saw any kind of like intense emotion from him, and he just got really upset and kind of shut down, and he was like, I'm not answering that question. And then I asked him another question, and he's like, we're done doing this. I'm not doing this for your school report. Do something else. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I can relate to both of you. It's like I was raised by my mom, but I was also taught to just like kind of how Wes said, like toughen up type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's definitely for me, you know, the more I think about it, that equates to emotional suppression, right? So how did that feed into my disease from a very early age? You know what I'm saying? Like it's amazing to me when I start thinking these days, when I start thinking back to like, where did I really get sick, or was I born this way, or what the fuck, you know, like that kind of thought process. I can find stuff at this point so far back that, you know, I can now view as addictive tendencies or you know, symptomatic act outs from the disease itself at a very early age, dude. And
Right.
you know, that whole emotional suppression thing, you know, clearly, you know, the whole be a man, you know, there's no crying here, you know, dust your shit off and keep moving. Obviously that was a major emotional suppression for me early on.
Or not even just crying about it, but like talking about it, vocalizing it. Let's work through this as a process. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Tell me how you feel so we
Under
can
the
come to a
rug.
resolution.
Sweep it under the rug, right? Like,
Right.
let's just not deal with the shit, you know? And that was, man, when you say that, Stephen, that definitely triggers more thoughts in my head about how emotions were suppressed. I mean, that right there, dude, is a big deal, you know? And that kept me, like, I was very close to my parents, but I never sat down and had a real conversation with them. I feel like sometimes, I mean, there was a lot of love in my family, but man, talk about sweeping shit under the rug for a long time. That's on multiple fronts, you know, big deal fronts, not necessarily, not just little things, like big deal shit. We're going to sweep big deal shit under the rug. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I was conditioned to that for a long time. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I'd like the opposite, you know, response from family, but the same result. You know what I mean? So like in my family, it was kind of like with all the best intentions, but it was like, oh, you can do no wrong. You're so special. You know what I mean? Or it's going to be okay. So when I went to them, I could talk about my problems all day long and whine, whatever. But like, and I'm talking like littler kid, but it's okay. No resolution, no working through a problem, no specific answers. So I was just kind of like, well, fuck me, right? So then I go to the outside world and they're all like, you're fucking dumb and weird and like whatever. So I'm like, okay, like I just shut the fuck down. Like, dude, school, smartest kid in class, never raised my hand. I don't want to talk. I had never socialized. I don't know how I made it so long. And dude, I just remember being a dead ass mute, man. Like I was just awkward. I didn't know how to just be with people because the way my home life was just so different than the way my outside life was. And that's why I started using, because it took me out of my head. Because every time I try to interact socially, it would be like, what do I say? And really, what do I say to get the result that I want? What do I say to make you think I'm cool? Or what do I say to at least not sound like a fucking weirdo? And not that I was even that weird, just awkward. You know, like the quiet, weird ones who are just like, what? You know what I mean? Like, that's how I was.
Yeah.
Just absolutely zero social skills, only child type shit.
I can definitely do that shit, man.
Yeah, just suppressed everything. So I'm not talking to people at school because they're not really giving me straight answers either. And then even as I got older into my teenage years and adult years, I can't talk to my guy friends about emotions or why I'm like so distraught with using, or because they're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, shut up. You know what I mean? You're ruining my high. Or what do you mean you talking about your feelings? Like, and it's just became this constant suppression. And now, you know, I just got to that point where I'm like, it's okay. It's not something wrong with me. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine, but there's not something wrong with me because of it. You know, that's why I appreciate guys like you who can like reflect and be honest and really talk about this type of shit deep. And Anna, like, she's the best. Like, she is just on my level, just on the whole communication thing, like breaking shit down, like hearing me out, giving me her breakdowns, and I'm hearing her out, and it's like so different for me.
Beautiful thing right there, bro. Beautiful thing for sure.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, like, I mean, it's at some point we as addicts have to find a new way, right? A new way to live. And for a very long time, man, going through years of keeping the demon in the closet, right? Keeping the door shut on the problems and sweeping things under the rug as much as I possibly could and ignoring it. Like that there's nothing more toxic than that. And I'm sure of that, at least in my head. From my experience, man, not talking about shit drove me fucking crazy. 100%. Drove me to use, drove me to find comfort within a fantasy world, right? Like, I'm talking, I didn't have a clue for a very long time how to differentiate from between reality and fantasy, man. Like it blended together. Everything I thought about in my head, and given the fact that I wasn't playing the tape through and things like that, man, it was, is this real or is this not real? I have no fucking idea. Like all of these things have manifested themselves through my drug use. So at some point, I mean, I've heard addicts share about this in the past, and at some point that everything blurs, man. That the paradigm shifts to a point where we don't know where the fuck we're at or what's going on, and,
Right.
and so all of that was brought about for me by, compressed emotions, not cutting it loose for years, man, not cutting it loose for years. So to have, I consider it a gift from a higher power at this point to be able to cut it loose, and to be able to have a state of awareness that allows me to kind of unlock that box a little bit, even if it's just peeking into it for a little, I mean, at least the box is unlocked and things begin to come out, It's a long time, for a very long time, dude. That stuff was untouchable and scared the fuck out of me, every bit of it. So that's a beautiful thing right there. That is a result of nothing but coming to believe, and
Oh yeah.
and having the feeling that there is in fact something bigger than me, and that higher power has a plan for me, and having that kind of confidence, I mean, we have nothing to fear, I mean, the Narcotics Anonymous Fellowship tells us that, and I'm grateful for that, no question.
One thing we all have in common that I just kind of picked up, and it's crazy, is we all shared about growing up and suppressing our feelings and emotions and not talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was like that way before drugs or alcohol were involved. And then when I started using drugs and alcohol, it was to suppress those feelings even more. And like, I remember getting clean, and it was like all those emotions, all that stuff that I had put away just poured out at once, and it was super overwhelming. And I don't know, I just got this feeling listening to you two share about how, like, I don't know, maybe suppressing those feelings when we were kids is kind of the same thing that drugs did, in a sense that, like, we would hide all those feelings and sweep them under the rug, but then they come out eventually. And when they come out, if you've swept so much stuff under the rug and it comes out all at once, it's so hard to handle it that way. And I don't know, I still have a hard time sharing things issues I'm dealing with, but I've noticed that every time I do get something out, like, the problem's so much smaller. Like, I could have something ruin my day where I'm going crazy all day about it. And then I shoot like Steven or somebody else from the group a text, and then they talk to me about it. And like right after that, it's like, okay, I'm all right. Like, I drove myself crazy for the last 8 hours, and all I had to do was just tell someone. Like, it's crazy how helpful it is just to talk about how you're, like, what you're going through.
Liberation, telling you, man.
Yeah, I need to get better at that, man. I'm pretty bad. I'm good at suppress or letting out kind of feelings, thoughts, point of views these days. But when I get in a funk, like if I'm in like a negative funk, I don't reach out. I don't talk about it. I get really bad. Now I don't resort to anything. I don't go scorching the earth. I don't go letting all my shit thoughts come out of my mouth to whoever I'm in a funk with. And I don't go use. But man, I don't reach out though. Even sometimes, like, I'll think, man, I'll just think about higher power or something. And I'm like, damn, why don't I turn to that at times, you know, or do like a gratitude list, you know, because I know they help. And in those moments, I'm just so honed in, like everything just sucks. You know, like Anna and I had a few moments last month or earlier this month where I just had constant triggers. Like I have pressure triggers, I have commitment triggers, and I'm aware of them. And I try to navigate and step out of my comfort zone as much as I can without activating them fully. But man, this one weekend, like, I don't know, 2 weekends ago, dude, I fucking lost it, man. Like, and I didn't snap. I didn't like get nasty, aggressive, rude, or mean, but I was fucking triggered and it was bad. And it was just like, I can't see nothing else. You know, when I see someone who's getting me like that, I don't see another person. I see the person trying to take, you know what I mean? And she wasn't trying to take nothing, but it was like just the way it was kind of discussed, activated in me. And I can't really vocalize it at the time. You know, I can't sit there and say, this is how you're making me feel, because any response she gives me, I'm going to feel like is manipulation. That's just how I feel when I'm that triggered. I don't trust anybody. You know what I mean? And I haven't been that triggered that bad in recovery. And that was definitely more of a me thing, suppressing too much leading up to it than a her thing. You know what I mean? And after I took my space, I was able to analyze and break down how much it really was unnecessary, because, you know, what she said, that the way I took what she said was not at all how she said it, but I couldn't see it at the time. You know what I mean? And we've had this discussion, but man, it's just fucking nuts how quick it can go to, because I literally will go from 0 to 100 on those type of triggers. Like there's other situations where I see coming and I can handle it like a boss. You know what I mean? Or I can just work through it with communication or whatever. But there's just certain things that they just hit an old nerve and give me such a dark, concrete perspective that I can't get out of it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I don't know why I just went there. I felt like it was relevant when I started. But to jump right back to Erik though, because I was literally going to ask that right before you started talking. When I first got sober in 2009, dude, I cried for like, I don't know, weeks, uncontrollably. Like you said, like everything from like 13 to whatever I was at the time, 26, just fucking poured out of me, right out of my eyeballs. Like I did go through a breakup, you know, it was the first time breaking up a family and losing, you know, daily contact with my kids. I didn't see them for 6 months, but it was also so much more shit. My grandparents who had died like 5 years before that, you know, so much shit was just like, the fuck is this coming from? All this undealt with emotion just out every which way. It was nuts.
I can feel that, man. Full surrender equaled for me. Full surrender was followed very quickly by a wave of emotions that it's still like thinking back to it. And okay, first of all, I need to remember this. This is very important for me to remember, to be able to remember what level of pain brought me to the point that I am today, because I can use that shit as a tool, right? But like I had a flood of emotions shortly after coming to a point of complete surrender that I'd only felt one time before in my life, and it was when my pops died. I was close to my dad. You know, he fought leukemia for 3 years, and it's crazy because I came out of detox and I went to my mom's place, and my mom slammed the door in my face and said, "You can't fucking be here." And you know, I went through this, I'm just getting my shit and leaving state, you know, and it resulted in a level of surrender that I've not previously known, and a emotional explosion that I've never felt before as well. And that was, I'll tell you what, 30 plus years of sweeping shit under that rug, right? Well, that motherfucker got pulled open all at once when I surrendered. And every bit of that shit that had been under that rug for 30 plus years came blasting out. And, that was 7 days clean. And it was straight out of a detox. And it was it was the biggest emotional rocking feeling that I've ever had in my life, I think, at least that I can recall. And perhaps the first real emotional, seeing it all for the first time kind of thing, right? Once I've got an actual perspective on what it is to feel certain ways or some shit. I don't know. That's some shit that I can't wrap my head around. I just know it was fucking intense and it was life changing. You know what I'm saying? And it brought me to know my God. It brought me to know my God. And damn if I'm not grateful for it. That's crazy. The gift of desperation. We've heard that talked about quite a bit. And I know I'm flying off on some other topic at this point, but the fact
That's what we do, bro.
The fact of the matter is, man, like,
that's what we do.
We from one thing to the next, it's just like, thank God for that gift, man. Thank God for that. And, correlated to that, thank God for all the shit before it. Thank God for the fire, because I wouldn't be where I'm at without it, man. Like, I wouldn't know my higher power without going through that bullshit for 10 years. Or hell, my entire life. I mean, I keep saying 10 years, a decade of drug of choice destruction, but I was fucking addict way before that. I mean, I've already tracked. It's very clear to me that this thing was not new. It just got bigger teeth when I found my drug of choice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's crazy. It is. But I tell you, it really is it is beautiful for the first time in my attempts at getting clean for 3 years to be on a true, honest level, where I don't have that bullshit inside me where I'm like fucking lying about everything, Yeah, let's go to a recovery meeting and hug addicts and tell them I'm clean and then go get high the next fucking move. Like,
right.
How did I expect to get better at that? Doing that kind of shit, lying to myself, right? That denial acronym doesn't even know I am lying or whatever, right? Like, it's complete detachment from my own like moral guide. It's like throwing a moral guide into the trash and just living a lie. And I think a lot of addicts can relate to that, man. And that's one of the beautiful things about getting honest is that fucking, man, first of all, everybody in that room that you've been lying to for fucking years is sitting there going, so you really thought that we believed that you were, clean? It's like, welcome, man. It's about time. Glad you're here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is beautiful, man. And, that allowed me to finally say, geez, I am in the right place, man. I am amongst friends that are like me, and I'm finally to a point where I'm sick of bleeding, man. Fucking sick of bleeding. Just the old cliche, sick and tired of being sick and tired, Gift of desperation, dude, changed the game. For sure.
I was pausing. I thought Erik was gonna make the move. It looked like he was about to go in. No, yeah, man. Gift of desperation. I think it's awesome that they didn't call you out, you know what I mean, and just kind of kept welcoming you. And then, really getting to that point where you trust honesty, let go of all the bullshit, let go of the armor, let go of the mask, let go of this whole facade you think you're holding up, you know, living in denial, thinking that you're being so strong. I don't mean you, but like me, anybody, when we're just holding so tight to that image we're trying to uphold, thinking that that's strength, not knowing that surrender is strength. You know what I mean? Dropping the armor, let's go. Yes, it stings at first and it's scary, but there's progress to be made. You know what I mean? And I made more progress in the first fucking month of my surrendered full all in sobriety than I had in 18 years, because I know it all. You can't tell me shit. Whatever. You know, I'm fucking perfect. I got it all figured out. You know, I'm the best fucking rapper in the world and you can't tell me shit. They all tried to tell me the whole time I was ass. And like, after I woke up a little bit, I was like, damn, you weren't lying. I'm all right today, but like, dude, I just wasn't listening to nobody about nothing. And
lies.
No, weakness, admitting weakness is a strength, man. Like, spotting a problem is your first step towards fixing the problem. And if you're, you know, man enough to say I fucked up, or man enough to say, yeah, I got some flaws, that's a strong man right there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not strong to just sit there and act like you got it together when you're showing massive amounts of evidence that you don't.
What's crazy is that my brain for a very long time, I mean, I was in complete denial, dude. Like, I had no real concept of whether or not I had it together or not.
Right.
Yeah, me too. Fucking people pleasing and being everybody's friend and being scared to lose a single relationship that I had forged, right? But in essence, like, it took me a hot minute to figure it out. But those lies, that shit was killing me. I was dying from dishonesty. And I didn't understand. I was not aware of just how sick that shit was making me on a regular basis until I got honest. And I feel the difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel it. And fucking physical illness caused by dishonesty. Now, clearly I was using as well and stuff like that, but man, nothing made me feel worse. You know, nothing made me want to go get high more than lying to people in the fellowship and lying to my family. Nothing.
Right.
And I just did it over and over and over again. So if you can imagine that and what it feels like, or maybe not imagine, maybe somebody listening has lived this and can relate to it, right? If you can imagine coming to a point where, to your point, I'm shedding that shit, dude. Like, it is shedding off like fucking rotten skin, and it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm grateful as hell for it. I don't know, you know, where it leads other than up, and like, everything's changed. My entire perspective has changed. You know, I truly want to live more than I want to die. You know, like that. In the end, I have found that keeping it simple is the best method of approach for me. And, you know, I got to a point where I am staring at myself in the mirror, you know, with fucking blood running down out of my nose and off my chin. You know what I'm saying? And literally having a conversation with myself in the mirror. Do you want to live or die? You know?
Right.
That was a big deal. And I don't know how I got there, but I'm glad I did, because it changed the game. You know, it was facing reality. It was understanding the consequences of living in the disease, and not having a damn bit of that honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness that we like to talk about. Not a damn bit. And telling everybody that I did, you know, and telling myself more than anybody.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because, you know, I really get caught up a lot of times, and I got to tell on myself on this right now, that I always look at I forget to look at denial as true denial. You know what I mean? I almost look at it as someone's trying to bullshit. Like they know it, they're just not saying it. And, you know, I forget that not everybody has the same amount of self-awareness. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking through the lens of self-awareness. But when I really stopped to think, and what you just said made me do that, I was like, I didn't know either. You know what I mean? I knew some things. I knew bits and pieces, but my justifications, my reasons, my excuses were so strong. You know, I had them all figured out. Yeah.
Let yourself.
Yeah, I used, but homie over there is doing worse than me, so I'm doing all right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I haven't ended up in the hospital yet. Well, I haven't, you know, done this, that, or that. Yeah, I had myself convinced about a lot of things in a lot of ways when I was arguing with people. It was justified, you know. They said something, someone could say something to me one time. You could cuss me out once. I have a pass forever. You know what I mean? You could call me one dirty name. I'll always go back to that. I remember
for life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you did the same shit to me fucking 15 years ago.
Wow. Yep.
Dude, I punched my boy one time. He deserved it. Let's get that out there. But I punched him for something. Right, like 3 to 5 years later.
Wow.
Oh, he fucked me over pretty good, you know. He started fucking around with this girl that I was seeing, and then she got mad at me. So then she wanted to get with him to get back at me. Anyway, it was this big ordeal. I would love to tell the story, but my girl's gonna listen to this later. But it's funny. But anyway, he was going along, so I wouldn't have cared because she wasn't that important to me. If he'd have just been like, hey, she was trying to play you, got a little something, my boy. Whatever, dude. But he's like, he stopped talking to me over it, and he just went with her, like, fuck me. So anyway, we were still friends because she was just playing him anyway, just to get back at me, whatever. But I never addressed that shit.
Yep.
You know, I never confronted him. Maybe I told him a time or two, yo, that's fucked up. But me, with my lack of boundaries, with my lack of assertiveness, with, you know, my lack of just acceptance, I stayed friends with him because he's like the only friend I got. He's close and familiar. I justified it somehow, wrote it off, and then, but I never let it go. I had a resentment. So I'm just riding in the car with him one day, and I must have been on one of the drugs. I must have been on one of the drugs that like lets loose the bottled up shit. Because I'm driving. He's just there next to me. I'm just like, like he's like, what the fuck? Gets out of the car, and I'm like, that's for that. And he goes,
that's that 5-year fester right there.
I think we were arguing about it before. I was like, yeah, well, you did this. And then he's like justifying it, defending himself. I'm like, motherfucker.
Wow.
Not saying it's okay. Resentments, man. That's who I was. Like, not confrontational enough to check you in the moment. I needed some type of I never had liquid courage. I had that Xanax courage. It all came out on that. I mean, if from point A of taking it to the next point of taking it, when it wasn't a daily thing, everything in the middle got released. Like, hold up, let me find you. What'd you say 3 months ago? Let's go.
Damn. Yeah. Wow.
And then apologize the next day, of course. Yeah. My bad. And then the resentment would come back.
Yeah. Full on.
Fucking drugs, man.
Yep.
We hitting the wall?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a wall to be hit.
No, there's a wall. Trust.
Yeah.
There's a wall.
I might be hitting it. I don't know. Maybe so, maybe not. I don't know.
Eric, are we hitting the wall?
9:47 my time.
What time do we start?
I gotta work in the morning.
Yeah, I gotta do something.